Okay, sometimes you just got to say they were right. He's going to be president forever. Major announcement coming out on President Trump. A lot of people haven't heard it yet, but that's why we break news here first. And it surrounds a lot of stories going on right now. In the midst of a shutdown, if President Trump couldn't have found a way to, infuriate the Democrats even more, he just found a way to do it. News breaking all over, not only this country, but the world, all relating to this man here. But then the most major story of all comes out. And it is specifically what I'll cover for you here in just a few seconds. A lot of news to cover, a lot to get through. Another major victory for President Trump before we get to the headline story. Supreme Court allows Trump to revoke protected immigration status for thousands of Venezuelans. Hope you heard this story. Oh, don't worry. Kavanaugh Brown, of course, had a dissent. We would expect nothing less. The Trump administration is trying to revoke. Well, they did just technically be allowed to revoke a Biden-era policy that extended protections to thousands of Venezuelans. How many in particular? Up to 600,000. Supreme Court, another emergency docket taken, and the court granted the emergency request by a 6-3 ruling. Of course, they always point out a conservative majority, but irrelevant. I'll go to the dissent, of course, in this Supreme Court case. And what does it say? We once again use our equitable power, but not our opinion writing capacity. Of course, Kavanaugh Brown Jackson hasn't shown a lot of legal capacity, but I'll digress for a moment, to allow this administration to disrupt as many lives as possible, as quickly as possible. I guess the fact that our tax dollars are going towards funding all this isn't disrupting we the people's lives. That's irrelevant to the Supreme Court, allegedly, in this dissent. Of course, just the opinion of this journalist. This court should have stayed its hand. The court plainly misjudges the irreparable harm and balance of the equities factor by privileging the bald assertion of unconstrained executive power over countless families' pleas for the stability our government has promised them. Kavanaugh Brown Jackson, our government has also promised me and my family and all my audience stability, prosperity, freedom, protected to us and promised to us by our Constitution, because we reside here as legal American citizens. However, as the Supreme Court, understanding that your job is to interpret the Constitution, I just would ask for the same due diligence and respect when dissenting on these cases. Did you look to the Constitution? Which, in my opinion, that appears to be the last thing you do, because most of your dissents are bound in political opinion. But we'll see what your next one's going to stay, because this is a victory, and I'm not going to allow you to take it away from President Trump, because the lady doth protest too much, methinks. Just pulling from Shakespeare, of course. But let's roll forward. We got a lot to talk about, don't we? Because this isn't the only victory President Trump has had now. The Supreme Court has granted Trump administration requests to block lower court ruling in more than 70% of cases brought by the administration that were decided via the shadow docket, they call it. No, they're taking care of lower court rulings by radical leftist judges appointed by many times either Obama or Biden, and they are taking care of constitutional law cases and putting them back in the right position in favor, many times, of Trump. And if they disagree, well, Trump doesn't always win. It just so happens that the majority of what he is doing in the eyes of the, again, Supreme Court is constitutional. But of course, they'll declare it's because they're conservative. But many times in the past, they have not ruled in the favor of we the people. And we have disagreed with them many, many times. But I guess it's whatever fits the narrative at the time of their choosing. Now, that's a big victory. Actually, many will consider this a big victory, too. You see, Apple's taken down an application. There was an application out there It was called Ice Block, which basically informed everyone where ICE was at. And there was a push to get this app taken down. It was putting our federal agents in danger, and Apple has finally complied. It was used by many organizations. It's like the Dallas ICE shooter, for example, to tell the exact location where agents were. A very dangerous application. Trump DOJ intervened. Apple finally made the move to take it down. This is what the app looked like, and it is now off the App Store. Another victory. That was from Nick Sorter, who published that. Now, Nick Sorter has a story of his own going on. I don't know if you heard, he was arrested in Portland. He was attempting to cover things that were happening in the city, and he was arrested. Now, there's a lot of coverage of him, some conflicting. In one of the coverages, he was attempting to defend himself, and he was the one arrested, not the Antifa antagonist in the clip. So the White House, Pam Bondi, Harmeet Dillon are now involved in the case. Nick Sorter posting on this. So he goes on. Attorney General Pam Bondi has ordered a full investigation. The investigation's to be led by Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon. She's to investigate the Portland Police Bureau following his wrongful arrest, as he declares. It's been confirmed to him directly by Pam Bondi, because Trump's DOJ, well, you can hear directly from the White House themselves.
Just last night, we saw an extremely troubling incident where conservative journalist Nick Sorter was captured on video being taken into custody by the Portland police after he was ambushed by Antifa and was defending himself from these assaults. But instead of arresting these violent mob members night after night after night, who are ravaging this community, the police arrested a journalist who was there trying to document the chaos, and everyone in this room should be extremely concerned about that. The Department of Justice spoke with that journalist this morning, and they will be launching a full investigation into his arrest.
So the White House taking a position on the case. Nick Sorter calling out the Portland police, you made a big mistake, and I have it all on tape. How it will conclude, it's yet to be seen. But the White House takes a further step.
It is the American people's city, and President Trump is going to restore that. I just spoke with the president about this, and he has directed his team here at the White House to begin reviewing aid that can potentially be cut in Portland. We will not fund states that allow anarchy. There will also be an additional surge of federal resources to Portland immediately, including enhanced CBP and ICE resources.
Now, that would have been enough, normally, to antagonize the left coming out of President Trump's office. But not even close to the tip of the iceberg as to what he did yesterday to antagonize the left, now is it? No, and we're not done with Portland yet either, because you would think after all of that, Portland would come up with an even stronger, and they do, don't worry, because they've done plenty of their own protesting. But now the response to what they did in Portland, or are going to do, is unusual and strange to say the least. And I'm going to tell you what that response is going to be. But President Trump and what he did just over the last 24 hours to the left is what goes to show you that maybe they were right. That's a story we're going to continue on here in just a second. Before I do, Lisa and I are so very proud to announce to you that, as you know, on the public platforms, we have two channels. We have this channel here. And in order to help Lisa and also our other public channel, which is mine, we need a couple favors from you. While you're here, always make sure your bell is checked to all. It helps Lisa to make sure the algorithm knows that her news matters to you. And if your bell isn't checked to all, you're not commenting, you're not sharing, then it doesn't know that her news is important, and it won't share it. But by doing those simple steps, it makes a difference. It changes everything. The algorithm is suddenly aware, okay, this is important. The same thing on my channel has been done by all my audience members, and our public channel there has exploded. Well over 100,000 subscribers now. Just over the last week, garnering over 250,000 views. And that is thanks to each of you. I'd love you to go over there and subscribe. And as the ultimate support for both of us, we'd love you to go to our news platform that we created together, which is restrictedrepublic.com. The difference there is we don't have commercials or interruptions. It's audience-funded news. Not only do we rebroadcast every public platform's video without commercials and interruptions, but we also provide you exclusive content. Every day of the week, sometimes we take weekends off, not very often, so that we can provide content that by rules and regulations often isn't allowed on the public platforms. And that's why we designed Restricted Republic, and that platform has absolutely exploded. And we wanted to give a special thanks for all that have joined. I can't tell you how many countless numbers of people have gone over there just over the last few weeks. And we'd love you to join our family at restrictedrepublic.com today and see what real news was meant to sound like. But now, let's get back to this broadcast. So back to Nick Sorter. Shows the letter that Harmeet Dillon has already sent to the city of Portland. Here's what it looks like. You don't want to get one of these in your life. U.S. Department of Justice. To the city attorney, Robert Taylor, and the chief of police, Bob Day, your immediate attention to this matter is required because we think something's a little bit off here. We don't understand why you're not arresting the antagonist and you're arresting the reporter. So we'd like the identity of all individuals. And remember, Nick Sorter wasn't the only one who was assaulted. Katie Daviscourt also was, and I covered that just earlier this week on my broadcast. But the letter goes on. We also want to make sure you're being fair. And why are you only arresting reporters and not identifying those who are assaulting reporters? You see, that's something a little bit wrong in U.S. law. To address compliance concerns raised by these allegations, we request the following by no later than October 10th. While we have not reached any conclusions on these allegations, we noted a consistent theme in these three allegations. All three would choose one viewpoint over another. Moreover, the allegations implicate the city's performance under the settlement agreement in the above referenced case. Wow. So 1, PBP reported arrested individuals who may have been involved in an altercation and choosing to arrest Nick Sorter but not others. PBP reportedly failed to identify or arrest individuals who allegedly assaulted Katie Daviscourt, even after briefly detaining the individuals, which I showed on our broadcast. The city of Portland reportedly has attempted to use its policing powers through a zoning enforcement action to limit ICE's use of its Portland facility. Folks, you got yourself a problem. But how is Portland responding? Well, here's how.
Response to the National Guard's deployment, an emergency World Naked Bike Ride. The World Naked Bike Ride usually happens every summer. People bike in the buff to protest pollution from other forms of...
No, you didn't hear her incorrectly. Portland is going to protest the National Guard with a naked bike ride. An annual event. But if you want the world to take you seriously and believe that you're very serious about your cause, a naked bike ride may not be the way to protest the 200 or so federalized National Guard troops in Portland and more than likely many more on their way. Now, you see, that's simply not going to cut it. We know who's there. We've seen Antifa on the streets, and trying to either make it seem funny or make it more lighthearted or even not being taken seriously isn't going to work. Portland, the world's now seen you again. But you're not the only one anymore, are you? No, now Chicago has its own set of problems, because guess who showed up in Chicago? Antifa. Again, can't see why President Trump declared them a domestic terrorist organization now, huh? As they become more organized and coordinated, Chicago has their own struggles. It's only 9 a.m. and Antifa are already scrapping with police at the ICE Broadway facility. I can't play it because of the amount of cursing that is in the background, and there is an extreme amount. But the violence continues, and it goes on. As more yelling and arrests occur, federal agents are driving back a combative group growing mob outside ICE facility, and it's only 10 a.m. in the morning because they decided to go on federal property. Well, that's generally not a good idea when federal officials are there, but everything's fine in Chicago. Everything's fine in Portland if you listen to the governor and mayors, huh? Everything's great. We don't need any help. President Trump, what are you talking about? Because remember, President Trump and the administration, they're the ones who are the fascist Nazis. Well, except when you understand that the Democrats Socialists of America are the ones who, well, established an anti-fascist working group, of which is associated with Antifa. And if you dig deeper into the Democrats Socialist of America, which we've done many ties to, especially at Restricted Republic, you'd see certain faces you recognize, like Zohran Mendami. And who's that congresswoman who is on there? As a matter of fact, she's not on that website once. I think she's on that website twice. Oh, and look, Bernie Sanders is also listed on that website. And you've heard me talk many times about Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC. We can go down to Pramila Jayapal, some other names and faces you may recognize. Do you know what website this is? Because when you get into Democrat Socialist of America, you also see a lot of the similar faces on the Justice Democrats of America. The website I continue to go back to because so many of these names and faces. Oh, who's that? Well, that was Cori Bush, who had since left the political scene, mired in controversy. Well, guess who's back? Cori Bush. St. Louis deserves a leader who is built different. That's why I'm again running to represent Missouri's 1st District in Congress. You see, the movement's not over. The Democrats aren't stopping. In the face of everything we're seeing brewing up in all these major cities across the United States of America, they're not stopping. Not their messaging and not their representation. Don't worry about what your husband did. Don't worry about the charges, the criminal charges of wire fraud. Just let it go. It doesn't make any difference. I guess nothing makes a difference anymore. We're not even to the lead story yet. This is only over the last 24 hours. Because we have to deal with this Kavanaugh story too, don't we? Would-be Kavanaugh assassin sentenced to over 8 years in prison. Prosecutors had sought a 30-year sentence. Good morning. Luke Rosiak put this out. In a federal court in Maryland for the sentencing of transgender terrorist Nicholas Sophie Rusk for the crime of attempted assassination of a U.S. justice for his plot to kill Brett Kavanaugh in 2022. Judge Boardman, a Biden appointee, is referring to the defendant as Miss Rusk now and asking whether she will be placed in a women's prison and given hormone replacement. The implication is that if not, she will be given a shorter sentence. Now, this is reality. This is what actually happened. In an assassination case against a Supreme Court justice, I'm not making any of this up. Judge Boardman is now asking how Rusk's transgender status should impact her sentence and demanding evidence that longer sentences provide more deterrence, asking why 3 years later Ms. Rusk is a risk to the public. So the amount of time that's transpired has changed the severity of the crime and lessened the amount that it will happen again. This is the reality of our justice system right now. Have you read the sentencing report? The judge asks. Rusk, a very tall man, boomed in as a usually deep baritone, yes. The sentence also included a lifetime of court supervision. I am heartened that this terrible infraction has helped the Rusk family accept their daughter for who she is. Judge Boardman said of the convicted mom's affirming his gender identity. How has the mainstream media reported this case? Just in, a woman who pleaded guilty to attempting to assassinate Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh 3 years ago was sentenced to more than 8 years in prison. And why do so many lose faith in mainstream media? Because it wasn't that long ago that NBC News had reported on this case also, as the man who had gun and knife will plead guilty to trying to assassinate Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. I'm just confused. I'm asking for a friend, which headline is it? And why was it changed? Was that involved in the sentencing? But again, mainstream media can't get much right anymore, can it? This is almost non-reality here. A man named Jihad. This was the horrific event that happened in the UK. Originally from Syria, ran over, stabbed Jews on Yom Kippur. Good Morning Britain actually makes this statement.
When he's talking about extremism, and on that, when I look at the front page of the Mail this morning, we still don't know the motivations. We still actually don't know the religion of the person that's been aimed for the attack. They say
A man named Jihad from Syria who stabbed Jews wearing a suicide belt on Yom Kippur. We don't know his motive or religion. These aren't parodies. This is the modern mainstream media reality they want to attempt to have you consume. Attempt. They're going to probably try to have you believe that President Trump hasn't been successful with negotiating a Gaza peace deal either. You remember he put some restrictions down, told Hamas that they, better come to the table or else. And so far, it appears they have. Hamas officially responds to Trump's Gaza plan, appreciates Trump's efforts to end the war, agrees to release all Israeli hostages, dead and alive, agrees to negotiate details of the plan, agrees to hand over Gaza administration to Palestinian Body of Independence. President Trump has this statement to make.
I want to thank the countries that helped me put this together: Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down in concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents and having some of the hostages, unfortunately, the condition they're in, come home likewise to their parents, because their parents wanted them just as much as though that young man or young woman were alive. So I just want to let you know that this is a very special day, maybe unprecedented in many ways. It is unprecedented, but thank you all, and thank you all to those great countries that helped. We were given a tremendous amount of help. Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East, and we're very close to achieving that. Thank you all, and everybody will be treated fairly.
What an amazing success if it is finalized. President Trump and the world owes him an amazing amount of thanks. The world owes him an amazing amount of thanks. And even in the face of a shutdown, ICE continues to do its work. Yes, we're showing some of the negative sides of the protest against ICE, but look who they're taking off the streets. So maybe the announcement that was made about President Trump, maybe the Democrats shouldn't be so upset about it. Maybe it shouldn't be so shocking because he continues to fight against the worst of the worst. The Democrats continue to push against him. His actions are unhinged and unserious, but he's the only one doing any work. He's absent in the face of the shutdown. No, he continues to work. They actually said he is absent in the face of the shutdown, but he just negotiated a Gaza peace deal. So is he really absent? No, the only absent ones are you, because you're not representing we the people. You are holding up based on providing health care to those that are not here legally. You are the one absent in your representation of we the people. Period. So then you shouldn't be shocked with what the announcement came out. Maybe you were right, huh? He will be president forever, won't he? Maybe I should have listened to you. Because this will never go away, will it? He found a way to get in your crawl, didn't he? And forever, because you'll never be able to take this away. Because once it's in circulation, it never goes away. And the announcement's been made, huh? Wait till he gets to Mount Rushmore, huh? This may just be the tip of the iceberg. Because the Treasury's announced this officially, now appearing on Fox News First. First draft. Treasury planning to mint $1 coins with Trump's image. Treasury draft photo of the $1 coin shows Trump on the front, and guess what's on the back? Trump with the American flag. Fight, fight, fight. But the Democrats aren't going to stand down and let this happen. There ain't no way in hell they're going to let that happen. The Treasury Department's considering a plan to mint a new $1 coin. which will memorialize President Trump forever. No one. How many times do you look down and look at those coins and you never forget those presidents, do you? They are presidents forever. Despite the radical left's forced shutdown of our government, the facts are clear. Under the historic leadership of President Donald J. Trump, our nation is entering its 250th anniversary stronger, more prosperous, and better than ever, a Treasury spokesman told Fox Business. While the final $1 coin design has not yet been selected to commemorate the United States semi-quincentennial, the first draft reflects the enduring spirit of our country and democracy, even in the face of immense obstacles. I wish they would say, and our constitutional republic, but I can't get everything I want. Even in the face of immense obstacles, we look forward to sharing more soon. And they did. And now the battle begins. Treasury may mint $1 Trump coin despite it possibly being illegal. According to Treasury, the backside of the coin would show Trump pumping his fist in the front of an American flag. And no one could stop talking about it, from Mediaite to the New York Times to CNN. The $1 Trump coin is real. But all I can hear was the Democrats on Capitol Hill all saying the same thing.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
If you can't have a little fun with the news, what can you do? You see, President Trump just found a way to be president forever, exactly what they said he would be, huh? Speaking with someone last night who said the same thing. He's never leaving office, folks, if you truly believe that. Come on. Come on. He's making our country safe again, prosperous again. And that is not clean work. It's ugly work. How many probably tuned in thinking that's exactly what he was doing, making himself president forever? It's a sad statement, but nonetheless, in the face of a shutdown, he's doing work, he's making progress, and he'll continue to represent we the people. And God bless this country, God bless America, God bless Donald Trump, and God bless you. Thank you all for being here. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.